So we're going to review real quick what we did yesterday on functions. So a relation is a set of ordered pairs. We talked about XY order yesterday, where the Y is associated with one specific X, right? No repeated X's. Where a function is a relationship in which each X is paired with exactly how many Y's? One Y. Okay, each input will have exactly one output, right? So the fancy way of saying X values are not to be repeated, are not repeated. The graph passes the, what kind of line did we draw for the graph? A horizontal or a vertical? A vertical. And is that up, down, or is that left, right? That is a up, down. This is vertical. All blank are relations, but not all relations are functions. So all functions, this is not a big deal right here. This is just something to remember. All functions are relations, but not all relations are functions. We're not really worried too much about that sentence. As long as you can remember no repeat X's, you're good. And vertical line test. Okay? So today what we're going to look at is actual function notation. Now, this is not something new for you, but the way it's written is, okay? So way back in middle school, do you remember getting a question like 4 plus x, and then they told you x equals 3? Do you remember that? What would you do here? What would you do to solve this? If I gave you 4 plus x, and I told you x equals 3, what would you do? So this means 4 plus 3, which is what? 7. Okay, I want you to be in this frame of mind. So we're going to keep looking at just plugging a number in for x and simplifying. Now, I want you to look at this notation. This is kind of weird. So f parentheses x. This is said f of x. It means that x is our input, and then f of x will be our output. So this is another way of writing y. F of x and y are the same thing. So if they're giving you this equation, negative 2 parentheses x plus 9 minus 10, and then we come over here, f parentheses 7, I want you to realize that this means x is 7. Now, let me elaborate on that for you so you can remember this. If I wrote above it f parentheses x, right? Because that's the format, right? F of x, and instead of x, they're putting a 7. I want you to realize that right here, the 7 is where the x is. Do you see that? So that's telling you, when it says f parentheses a number, or g parentheses a number, or whatever letter parentheses a number, the number in the parentheses is what you're putting in place of x. That's just a really fancy way of doing what we did in middle school up here, okay? Because it's algebra, and let's make it complicated. So if we go back here, it says evaluate. Guys, don't stress over that word. Evaluate just means solve. F of 7 for this function, okay? So really, if you look, f parentheses 7, this is just saying that x is 7. So if we're going to simplify this, then whenever I see x, what am I going to put? 7. So we can put in 2 parentheses. I'm not going to put x. I'm going to put 7 plus 9 minus 10. Okay? Then we can go to our calculator. So when we put this in our calculator, we get negative 42. So if I write this, I want you to realize f parentheses 7 equals negative 42. That's what we're saying. Guys, remember, this is a coordinate. If we graphed this, and I'll show you that in a minute. If we graphed this and then we looked at the table, If x is 7, negative 42 is my y coordinate. That's what it's saying, okay? So we're just plugging that number in. We'll go to the graph in a minute. Let's jump and do a little more practice. Now, notice it says A this time. Does that matter? No. What is this saying to us? X is negative 4. And if it helps you to write that above it, then you can. So if x is negative 4, then we're going to plug this negative 4 where our x is. So what are we going to type in? 3 times what? Negative 4. Don't forget the negative. Minus 1. So when we put this in, we can write a of negative 4 equals, what do we get? Negative 13. So remember, that is an x, y coordinate for that equation. All right? Let's try another one. Let's look at B. And sometimes they give you different letters. So this one has a B. So we're going to use the equation that has a B. What does B of 3 mean? This means x equals 3. So we can take our B equation, and in place of x, we're going to put the 3, and we're going to go to our calculator. So do that a minute. So we got 72. So we can write B of 3 is 72. We can also write it like a coordinate if we wanted. Do you want to try the next one by yourself? What do you notice on the next one? What letter do they give us? A. So which equation are we going to use? The A equation. And what does A parentheses 5 mean? This means x is 5. And we're going to go back to using this one. So what does that look like when you plug it in? 3 times 5 minus 1. See what you get? 3 times 5 minus 1 is 14. So we can say, remember, you can write it a couple of ways. A of 5 is 14, or you can write it as a coordinate. There is one more. Ooh, oh, this one's a little tricky. What are our letters on this one? C is set. So C, we're using the C equation right here. And what does that 7 in parentheses mean? X is 7. Okay, now be careful here. I have this negative, and then I'm going to put my 7 in place of the x. Do you see that? Don't forget the negative, and then we can say plus 7. What do you know about a 7 minus a 7? 0. So C of 7 equals 0. You could write 7, 0. Now I'm going to do something for you real quick. I want to just give you an example, a different example. What if I told you C of negative 7? Does that change what we write? What is x now? Okay, so I want you to be really careful, okay? I'm going to bring that negative down. And then what am I putting in place of x now? What's my x? Negative 7. So this is a negative 7. Is that different than this negative 7 we wrote right here? Yes. So what happens when we do a negative 7 plus 7? Use your calculator. So this is just 14 because, what do you know about a negative? It equals a positive. Yes, it does. So really this is saying 7 plus 7. So you need to make sure you're very careful with your signs. So on a graph, you still have a number in a parentheses, right? G of negative 7, and it tells you right here, this is our G graph. What does this negative 7 in parentheses mean? Okay, x equals negative 7. So I want you to find, is x on our graph the horizontal axis or the vertical axis? It is the horizontal. So I could even come over here if I wanted, if it helps you to label x and y, you could do that. And we are looking on the horizontal axis for negative 7. Do you see it? I want you to put your pencil on it. I see it right here. And we're going to go down to where we're touching the graph. That's where our x is negative 7. Remember how we wrote it before? We said it's a coordinate. So then what is my y coordinate right here? -4, right? We're just going to go across. Look, is that a lot easier than plugging the number in? All right, so if we're going to write our new format, let me get over there. G of -7 is, what did we say? What was G of -7? What was the y? -4. Remember, you can write it as a coordinate like we did at the top. What do you think about that? Do you want to do one more together, or you want to try this next one by yourself? Do one more together because it's new? All right, so what does this G of -2 mean? G of -2, what does that mean? Yes, x is -2. So if you wanted to just write it as a coordinate, you could. X is -2. So look at your graph. Where is -2 on the x-axis? Do you see it? Everybody put your pencil on it. Put your pencil on it. And then what do we know? Very nice. Ooh, I like that line. Good job. What is my y? What is my y? Remember, it's a coordinate. If this is -2, what is my y? -1. Make sure you have your sign. All right, so I want you to try this third example. I want you to talk to your neighbor. Let's try 3 and 4 with our neighbor, and then we're going to come back. What does it mean? G of 1. X is what? The x is 1. So in our coordinate, x is 1. And when you went to your graph, what was the y when x was 1? -1. Good job. And I saw that on lots of papers. Okay, what about 4? G of 5. What does that mean? 5 is x. And on our graph, it was 1. Very nice. And I saw some people that were drawing the lines, and I saw some people that were like, I don't need to draw the line. I can just see it, and that's fine too, as long as you can follow what you're doing. Thoughts?